Hey guys, thanks for joining me episode of Play Games. My name is Lance, and today I'm taking a look at a brand new game coming to Kickstarter called Arcane Blaster Casters. This is a new one from Battle Board Games. It is a 2 to 8 player game that takes roughly 30 to 90 minutes to play and is a competitive arena style game. In this video, I'm going to take you through the first, middle, and end couple turns to show you how the game plays and progresses to help you decide whether or not you want to back this title on Kickstarter. If you find this video helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, as it really does make a big difference, helps me to continue to grow and produce these videos. And if you want to stay up to date on all my videos, also consider ringing that bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. I'm also going to have a link up in the top corner if you just want to check out an overview to get a basic idea how the game plays and some of the main features of it as well, instead of watching a gameplay video. So let's go ahead and head to the table, and I'll show you what this one's all about. Before moving into the video, there's a couple things I want to cover. First off, all the materials you see here are prototype materials and are subject to change and will look a lot better when the production is done. The second thing is that the game itself is designed for one player to play one character. Obviously, I'm only one person, so I can't play all the characters simultaneously. For example, during the prep phase, none of the players are going to be able to look at their cards until the second phase of the round. During that phase, the players are going to look at their cards and develop spells that they're going to do, and based on how fast they do this, they're going to claim an initiative token. Obviously, I can't play all 4 players at once and be able to do this, so I'm going to add one little thing to the game to show you how the game plays without having to change too much. So each player is going to receive a die, and that is going to determine their initiative for this. Now again, this is added by me. This is not part of the game normally, and normally each player is going to control one wizard that they will play. From there, let's go ahead and move on into the game. So the first step in the round is going to be running, and this is where the players are going to move around the board and get into position for their turn. Now, the first turn, this is going to be skipped as our players each will choose their location that they're going to start at, which I've already taken care of. So then we're ready to move into the second phase of the round, which is to prepare. During this phase, each player is going to look at their cards, and this is the first time the players will get to look at their cards, and then they're going to generate a spell. So I'm going to take you through the first player's turn to show you how this works, but then I'll do all the rest of the players, and then we'll cut back in. And again, like I said, as the players do this, they're looking to generate a powerful spell, but also depending upon when they want to go during the turn, they want to be quick about it so they can draw an initiative card or token. So each spell is going to consist of 3 parts, A, B, and C. Now this will be modified by effects, but I'll get into that later. So for this, what I like to do is I'll line up all of the A side for all the cards that I have, so that I can look down here and see the effects that I have that I want to build a spell off of. So for example, with this player, I want to have a lot of range as I'm kind of far apart from the other players. So I'll select A for this one, and I'll place that face down on the A side. Then we're going to go ahead and rotate the cards, generating the B side of the spell, or the B part of the spell. And again, with this one, I want to still add a little bit more range, but I also need to do damage. So this bottom one here is pretty good. It's going to give me +1 range. It's going to do 3 damage, and it's going to spawn a trap. So I'll go ahead and select that for the B side. And then finally, I need to select a C. So with this, I could go heavy damage again, or down here, this one lets me roll a chaos die and determine a random effect, but it's also going to split it. So I can throw 2 spells at this, so 2 magic missiles or whatever you want to say. And it's also going to do 2 additional damage, so this is going to be a powerful spell. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one for my C. Now at that point, I have created my spell, and so I would take the top initiative token and add it to my player side. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and generate the rest of the spells for the other players, and then we'll come back and I'll roll for initiative. Okay, so now that all of our players have their spells, let's go ahead and roll for initiative. And again, this part is added by me. This is normally not part of the game. So let's go ahead and do it and figure out who is going to go first. All right, so we have yellow first, so he'll get number 1. Red is second with 2. 3 goes to green, and 4 will be purple. The third step of the round is casting. So this again will go in initiative order. So our yellow player is going to go ahead and start out. So he will flip over each part of his spell and say it out loud in a wizardly voice. So we have cool, nourishing, fog. And then from there, then he's going to total up all of his different effects for that spell and cast it. So for this, we have an effects reference sheet, as you guys can see here. And you're simply going to go right down this list until you pretty much are familiar with it. So the first thing is if we have a chaos symbol on there, which our player does not, then we would do the split effect. Again, our player does not have that. Then we're going to calculate the movement of the spell. So we have 1, 2, 3 points of movement. And so the spell will start on top of our player, and then it's going to move 3 spaces. So we can choose to do this any way we want. Anytime we move diagonally, it's going to count as 2 spaces. Otherwise, we can move in any other direction on the straight spots in that number of spaces. So for example, we could go 1, 2, 3 and stop there, as that is our maximum. Or we could go off of here, 1, 2, and then 3 finishing off here. So unfortunately, it looks like our player, well, actually could go right there. And then he does have a burst effect that is going to come into play. But before that, he also has a teleport. So this is going to let him, he will have to move 1 space. So our player is going to go ahead and shift over here, 1. Then we'll resolve the burst effect. So that is going to affect this tile and all 8 tiles around it. So now it is going to hit purple. Then we're going to do damage. So the damage for this is 2 points. So purple is going to take 2 points of damage. That'll drop him down to 13. Then the player would regain health, or regen, which our player is at max now, so that won't affect him. And then we have these status effects. So blind, freeze, and slow, which we do freeze the purple player then. So he will take a frozen token, and these are double-sided with a single frozen and a double frozen, which would take place for 2 turns. So our player just got frozen once, as there's only 1 frozen effect on there. And we have no other status effects for that. Then we go over to shield next. So this is going to help our caster, and he will be able to negate all damage from 1 source. Then we have haste, which we don't have any of that. There is no trap or push effects. So this player is done with their turn, and then we would move over to the next player in initiative order. So our red player is next. So that player has Dusty, Shaking, Swarm. And again, we'll go through those effects. So he does not have any chaos symbols or splits. Then we go to movement. So he has 1, 2, 3 points of movement. So let's determine where we want to go. We'll go 1, 2, 3 down here. We'll place that down there. And it is going to have a burst effect. So again, it's going to hit all spaces around it and that space. And then we'll continue on. It does not have any teleports. And its damage is going to do 3 points of damage to green. So he's down to 12 hit points. Moving on, we have any of the status effects. So it is going to slow him, and it will also push him, and it's going to push him 2 spaces, and our player can choose which direction to push him. So our player will push him into this trap here, and so we'll flip that over, and it's going to add another push and a burst effect. So anything around that area would be pushed 1 space. So we'll go ahead and move him over here. And then we can discard that trap. Then his turn is done, so then we're on to our next player, which is green. So green will flip over his cards. So he has charged Swinging Axes. So this is going to be a range 4 spell. We do have 1 chaos, so we'll go ahead and roll that to determine what that is. It's a 5, so it's going to regen 2 hit points. So that is pretty good. That'll help him out a little bit. So that puts him back up to 14. Then we will move on. We have a split effect. So anytime we have a split effect, it's going to have us place 2 tokens out in the 4 spaces adjacent to him. So with that, let's go ahead and put him, let's put one here. We'll put one here. Then we're going to continue on. So we have our movement of 4. So we'll go ahead and move 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've hit red twice, and it will continue on. We have no burst effects, so then damage. So we're going to do 5 damage, and that's per magic missile that's on there. So he's going to take a whopping 10 points of damage. So that is huge. He's down to 5 points. Then we'll continue on. So we have any status effects on there, which there aren't any. The last thing that is on there actually is a trap, so that will drop 2 traps, and he'll choose which stacks to take those from. And since they're on the wizard, then we'll resolve those immediately, so we'll flip it over. So he has a burst effect of slow and 4 more damage. Wow! So that dropped him down to 1 health. He is holding on by the skin of his teeth, and he's slowed next round. So really interesting round for poor Red. He got hammered. We're over to purple for the last player's turn. And so we have tactical, warping, light. Okay, then we have 2 chaos effects, so we'll roll 2 dice for that. 5 and 6, so 5 is going to regen those 2 hit points, so he's back up to 15, and 6 is going to give him haste, so he's going to, that'll help next turn. He'll get to add an additional card to his spell. Then we'll continue on. We have the movement effects, so we have a movement of 4 for the spell. So with that, he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 onto green. Then he's going to teleport 3 spaces away. So 1, 2, 3. Continuing on with the effects, it's going to cause a burst effect. So it'll encompass everything. It's going to do 2 damage to green. So green will be back down to 12. And it is also going to blind green, so he'll take a blind token as well. So we've got lots of status effects out there. And that is it for him. So at this point, then our players would discard all the cards that they used. Then each player will receive cards back up to their hand size. So each player is going to get 3 new cards. And then finally, each player is going to get their magic missiles back. And if there's any other effects or anything we have to take care of, this is the time. This would be the cleanup step. This is the final step in the round. Moving into the second round, we'll go ahead and start with the first phase, which is the run step. So during this phase, again, starting with the lowest initiative, moving all the way up to the highest, each player is going to get to move unless they have a status effect that stops that. So our yellow player is the first to move, and they can move up to 4 spaces. Moving diagonally is going to cost 2 points of movement, and moving adjacent is going to cost 1. So our yellow player is going to go ahead and move 2 as 1, 2 up diagonally, and over here for 1 more, and that'll use 3 points, and then he's going to stop there. Moving over to our next player, we have yellow, or red that's going to go next. So red is going to go ahead and move back here 2 spaces to kind of keep himself possibly out of range as he is really low. Moving over to our next player, we have our green player who is going to move 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So not what red was hoping for. And finally, we're over to purple to go. So purple is going to move 1, 2, 3. And he's going to go ahead and stop there. Then our players are going to put their tokens back in, starting with the lowest and moving all the way up to moving from the highest to the lowest. And this is also going to count as a countdown to the second phase. So when the first token goes back in, the second phase will begin. So at this point now, our players will go ahead and create their spells. And our purple player wasn't able to move because of the frozen step, so he has to move back where he was. So then this will be discarded, and we will continue on from here now. So there's a couple of things I want to point out real quick. So with our player over here that is blinded and slowed, when you're slowed, that means that you won't cast as effective of a spell. So you're only going to use 2 cards, the A and the C side of the card. And then because he is also blinded, he is also going to do this randomly. So this player will shuffle up his cards and then choose them randomly. So let's see here, we'll have this one be the A side, and we'll go with this as the C side. And then our players will continue with other effects. So the hasten is actually going to add an additional card. So this player will have a spell that is consisted of 4 cards. He'll have an A, 2 Bs, and a C side. And then again, our player over here is slowed, so he is only going to have an A and a C side as well. Okay, so let's determine how our players are going to go and what initiative. All right, so we have our 2 players over here tied. And yellow is going to be first again, so yellow will get that, and then purple will go. followed by green, and finally red. So red is in some big trouble. He's the last to go. That is not good for red. So we'll go ahead and start off with our yellow player to go first. So we have intense, fermenting, goblins. Oof, some stinky goblins. So again, we'll go ahead and figure things out. So we have 3 chaos symbols. He is totally going with randomization here. So let's see what we get. We have a 1, 4, and 5. So again, he's going to regen 2, but he is at max. Then he has +3 to his move, and he's going to add burst effect to that as well. So then we'll continue on. We have his movement next. So we have 3 plus the 3 he got for that. So 6 points of movement that is going to go. So he'll go ahead and figure this out now. All right, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, then we'll continue on. So we have his teleport next. So he's got a teleport of 2. So then he'll go ahead and slide back here. Continuing on, then we have his damage that he's going to do. And he'll add the burst effect to that as well, but nobody else is around there. And so he's going to do 2, 4, 5 points of damage onto purple here. So purple's down to 10 points. And that is it for his spell. Moving over to purple now to go. Purple's going to go ahead and flip his cards. So he has tough, branching, suffocating, fireball. Looks like a good one. So again, we'll go ahead and calculate everything out. We don't have any chaos symbols, so then we do have a split now, so this is going to be interesting. So we'll just put those there for now till we figure out how much movement we have. So we have 3, 4 points of movement. So we can get to green for 1, and 1, we'll go up here, 1, 2, if we start here, 1, 2, we can't get to yellow, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go both of them on green. From there, then we'll go ahead and calculate the damage. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points of damage. Whoa, huge. This is going to add a burst effect to it as well, and a blind. And then he's going to get a shield, which will double because of the spell's effect. Well, that won't double the shield, it's going to double his blindness. So unfortunately, he already has blind on him, which would have been discarded. Both of these would have been discarded during the spell effect step. So because our players were affected by him, so now he is going to be double blinded again. And it's going to do 12 or 14 points of damage to him, so that will finish him off. So that drops him down below 0. And so we're going to have our first player be slugified. So at this point, then he is going to roll on the chart. So as you guys can see here, based on the results, he'll roll his 20-sided die, and he's going to add any additional damage that took him below that value. So he only had 12 hit points left, and our player over here did 14, so he's going to add +2 to whatever he rolls. So we got a 13 result, so the destroyer receives 3 damage. So our purple player is actually going to take 3 damage for that. Okay, so then we are on to our next player as we resolved all the effects of that now. So over to our green player to go now. So that completely changes that effect, as the green player can only use 1 card when they're slugified. So then our player is going to discard all the status effects. As once you're a slug, you will lose all that because you cannot gain status effects. He has to discard all of his cards, and then he'll receive 2 new cards. So we'll go ahead and discard these. And then he can only use 1 card when casting, so we'll just grab 1 card for his cast since he's the next one to go. But he can choose any side on that. So with that, we will go with this side here. And it is going to move 3 spaces. So we'll go ahead and go 1, 2, 3. And it's going to do 1 damage, and it'll also drop a trap there. So the 1 damage is going to finish off red, so now red is going to be slugified. So again, red is going to lose all of his cards, and we'll have to roll on that table to see what happens. So again, now this time it didn't take him below, so we're going to go ahead and roll that. And he got a 14, so 14 is going to do, he's going to teleport the destroyer space. He's going to teleport to the destroyer space, so he'll go ahead and teleport right on top of the destroyer. And then again, he'll discard those cards, draw 2 new cards, and play one of them. So we'll just do this randomly again. So with our red player being the last to go, he's too far away from anything else. So it doesn't matter which way he plays, it's not gonna help him. So he'll just do that. So again, at this point, then we'll go into the cleanup phase, and all of our players will get their tokens back. So purple gets his back, green and yellow. Then we'll also discard any cards that were used. Each player is going to get cards back again, and with the slugified players, they will only get 1 card, up to 2 cards back. So each of our players only gets 1, and then our player over here will get 4. His hastened was used, so he'll discard that, and our player over here is going to get 3 back. All right, so at this point, we're ready to start another round. I'm going to go ahead and take a couple rounds off of camera, and then we'll come back and see how things are going. Okay, so after a couple rounds, our players have kind of just danced around a little bit and fired off some spells. We had a couple misses. Our 2 slugified players are trying to lock down purple right now. So it's not that they're all teaming up against purple. It's if the slugified players are able to knock purple out, then they actually get to come back in. So it's very good for them to try to get over and do some damage to purple and knock him out. He is sitting at 7 health, so he is not doing well, but he does have shields. Yellow is still doing really good at 15, but he has not been able to land a spell on purple to finish him off yet. So moving on into it again, we'll go ahead and do our movement. So we'll go ahead and start with initiative order. So red won that one, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're over to yellow to move. So yellow's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Over to green, who is going to go ahead and do 1, 2. And stop there, and finally purple is going to go. So purple is going to move back a couple of spaces and try to go after yellow. So he's going to go there. Then we'll go ahead and move into our second phase. So again, we'll place the tokens back, and this is the countdown to phase 2. And then our players will choose their spells. And again, the slugified players are only playing 1 card. All right, then our players are going to go ahead and roll off to see who goes in initiative order. Ooh, some high ones this time. So we have red and purple rolling off. Red is definitely going to go first, so red will take that. Purple is second, which will take that. Then we are on to yellow and finally green. So we'll go ahead and start off with red then. So red's going to flip his over, and he has a burst effect that does 2 damage, but he has no range. Then we're on over to purple. So let's see if purple is able to make some contact here, do some damage. So purple has a range of 3. So it's going to go purple's token. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3 there. Then he is going to move. So we'll move over 1. It's also going to have a burst effect. So it will hit yellow. And we're going to do 1, 2, 3 points of damage. So nothing major, but every little bit helps. So we're down to 12. And it's also going to heal purple 3. So he's going to be back up to 10. And he played the shield as well, just in case. But he still has the shield, so he won't get another one. Then we are over to yellow to go next. So let's see what yellow played. He's got a chaos and some movement. So he got 3 chaos. So let's see what happens here. He could get lucky, or it might not do anything. 2, 3, and 5. So he has the regen 2, so he'll get 2 health back for that. And then it's also going to do 2 additional damage and push 3 if he can get there. So he's got a range of 1, 2, and that is it. So the best he could do is here or there. So it's not going to be enough to get there, and there aren't any other effects that are going to help him out. So unfortunately, he only got the 2 health out of that and no damage to purple. Finally, we're over to green to go, and green is probably way too far away, and he is. He only has a range of 1. So at this point, then we'll move into the cleanup phase again. Our players will discard all of their cards, and we'll move into the next round. So again, we'll start with the movement. So our red player gets to move first. So he's going to go ahead and move 1, 2, 3, 4 over to purple to move. Purple's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Green or yellow's next. So yellow's going to go ahead and move up here, and green is going to go ahead and sit right on top of purple. So this could be interesting here. Then we're going to go ahead and place our tokens back again, counting down 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our players are off. Moving over to our initiative. All right, so yellow and red tied, so we'll see who wins out of that. So red will be first, then yellow, and purple will be third, followed by green. All right, moving over to red to start it out. Red played a movement 2, 1 damage, and 2 push. Unfortunately, he has not planned that out too well and cannot do anything, so he won't do any damage. We're over to yellow next, so yellow will go. He has a movement of 3 there, plus 2 trap, 3 damage, and a movement. So first off, he'll go ahead and move 1. Then he will, well, let's do his spell first. So before we move, we have to do his movement, or the spell's movement. So 1, 2, and 3. And then he will move his 1. Followed by, we have the damage, so 3 points of damage onto purple, which will drop his shield. And then we will go on and do the traps. So it is a burst effect on the traps. So we have 2 traps on his space and 2 traps on every other space around him. So this could get real interesting. That is a lot of traps. Then we'll flip it over and resolve. So we have a burst 2 damage and 3 damage. Oh, so that was a big hit. So he's down to 5. That's a bad trap. Then it is over to purple to go. So purple will flip. And we have tiny charging tempest. Now with this one, he has a range of 5 spaces. So with this, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unfortunately, it's not going to do any good as he doesn't have any burst effects on there, and he is going to have to move 1 space, so this could be really bad in which direction he chooses to move. So let's move back 1, and then we have to resolve the trap effects. So 3 and 6 damage. Oh no! So that is it for our purple player. They are reduced to nothing. And then they would move into their slugified effects, so they would have to discard all of their cards. There is no destroyer, but we still have 1 shot at this. If we can roll a natural 20, we can pull this off and come back in. We did not. Okay, so that is it for the game. Our yellow player came out on top on this one with a devastating spell, and then he got lucky with the traps as our purple player had to move back. So I hope you guys found that video helpful in deciding whether or not you want to back this title. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comments section below and I'll do my best to answer them. Or swing by the Kickstarter's main page and drop any questions you have there as well. I'm sure the creators would love to hear from you and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. If you found this video helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to my channel, as it really does make a big difference, helps me to continue to grow and produce these videos. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.